WBOK 1230 AM.
Morning, y'all. Wake up. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White, and my super producer, Naira Sanders, is also in the building. Listen, it's Monday. It is Monday. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know that there were some rescheduled parades that took place this weekend. I think the truck parades rode this weekend. I didn't attend, but I'm sure a lot of you did. And I think it was kind of dope that the city figured out some way to allow those floats to parade because I know that's like a huge investment for the folk who ride, the folks who prepare for the riders with all of their food and things that people could purchase on the route. So the city figured it out. The parades rode after being canceled because of the bad weather that was expected on Fat Tuesday. But hopefully you got to enjoy some of the festivities that happened over the weekend. But it's Monday and it's a talk show, a talk radio show. So we're going to talk about what's in the news. I want to say something really quickly before I start with the local news. Last week, we were having a conversation about an article that came out that was put out by the 74. And as I talked about that article, I explained to the listening audience who the funders of the 74 are so that you can have some context and understand why the tone of the article read the way that it did. I absolutely had a very impassioned response to a lot of the verbiage in the article. And I think it's so weird that when you are extremely passionate about something, you somehow become the target of a whole bunch of criticism instead of the system that created the need to have this sort of conversation in the first place. I find that to be jarring and for a lot of reasons. But next to that is this: any person, any entity that the Good Morning Show speaks about, particularly Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, I'm always extending the invitation to any person or entity who I speak of to come and join the Good Morning Show and to have some conversations and to ask some questions and to answer some questions, because I can answer questions as well. If there was ever a need to understand why my stance is what it is, I have no problem speaking on it. But see, the problem is I speak very candidly, oftentimes passionate, but I want somebody to show me the lie. That's all I want. I am fiercely defending the public school system that raised me. I'm going to fiercely defend the city that raised me. And my problem is the very people who have an issue with the tone in which things come across and the fact that there's something to be said. Maybe y'all are not passionate enough. Maybe you aren't concerned enough about the reality of things. Because why am I your issue and not the system that created the issue that I have to speak about? Because when you say things like the recovery school district took over a school system that was one of the worst in the nation, and you have black folk who were raised in that same system from a city that raised them, black folk co-signing that by not speaking back against it or being complicit with their silence, right? because it's profitable. I know it makes a lot of money. I know it does. I know it does. But I think it's strange that folk go out of their way to have like all of these secret phone calls about me when I voice my opinions and my stances very publicly. And I don't shy away from people calling them by their name, because if you're proud of the work that you're doing, then why do you have a problem with me attaching you to your work? And here's the other thing. If it's a problem, come and have a seat. Call in. The number is 504-582-9422. I will never speak about a person, place, or thing without giving them the opportunity to have a say. I want you to have a say. But I'm not going to quietly allow you to peddle this lie about a school system that you've been having in your possession now for 20 years. I beg the question again. Why are we still comparing one system to the other? It's been 20 years. Don't you have data that you could be proud of, separate and apart from what you think about public schools pre-Katrina? But I want you guys to pay attention to the authors of all of this information that you're digesting. Because I have no problem standing in defense of myself. I do not need an army of people. I do not need any hitters. I'm going to stand alone if I have to. But what we're going to do is this. Y'all best leave my family out of it, because I said what I said. I don't need you to call my baby's grandfather and have conversations with him about what I said. Y'all have the station number you can call here. Most of you have my personal number. You can call me, because I said exactly what I said. Now, you may not like how I said it. That's your perspective. But what I said, you cannot refute. Are the children reading on grade level? Is Travis Hill packed with most of our black boys? Is the juvenile crime rate out of control? Are there any real jobs for our children to aspire to once they come from this broken system? I don't know any job where you can go where you can't read. So all I want you to do is, I'm not asking for fairness, because I know that that's never going to be the case here. But what I want you to do is ask yourself, why is she always upset? Because wherever I see the miseducation or the mistreatment of children, I'm going to have something to say. So the best way to quiet me is to just simply do right by children. And why is it that when a person advocates for themselves, somehow they're made out to be a pariah? I asked a simple question. Why is an article based in New York so concerned about a superintendent appointment here in New Orleans? You know why? Because those are the same people that buy election seats here in the city of New Orleans. I said that, and I stand on it. And see, I'm working really hard this morning to keep the tone down for y'all, because y'all get so offended when I raise my voice, but you don't get nearly as offended or uncomfortable about that foot up your rear end that they continue to put there with no Vaseline. You don't get upset about that, but you're upset that I raised my voice and passionate about my children. Stay mad. I said exactly what I said. I named exactly who I named. And I'm going to tell you this. While there are white folk who are the head honchos in charge, I'm never as concerned about what white folk are doing as what black people continue to do to black people. That's why the names I call predominantly black people. Because this system could not bend the way it's bending without you complying to it. I have a problem with that. And if that makes you uncomfortable, is that my fault or yours? Because see, you could say a lot of things about me. You could say I speak very loudly. I have a whole lot of passion. You could say all of those things about me, and you could absolutely be correct. But what you will not say about me is that I've ever sold my integrity or my children for $1. You will never say that I took money from people who I know are funding the demise of our children academically, educationally, holistically. You can't say that about me. You could never say that I knew something was wrong and I benefited from the wrong by being quiet about it. You can't say that about me. So if the best you have is that you don't like my tone or you don't like how impassioned I am about the things that I say, then I think I'm doing quite well. And hopefully the works I do will speak for me. Because you got to ask yourself, why is it that all of these people and these entities have to collude against one single person with one single solitary voice? You know why? Because the truth don't need no defense. I don't need no protection because I tell the truth. And the saddest part about it is when I wasn't as boisterous as I am, y'all didn't even know me. I was working, minding my business, educating children. But the moment I decided to speak up against an injustice in defense of myself, in defense of my character, in defense of my career, somehow I was made out to be the issue. But I'm not the one doing 5 years in a federal penitentiary. I'm not. I'm here talking to you. So seemingly I was on the right side of that. Why are you mad? And again, you don't need to call my family to have conversations about what I say on the radio. It's public. My son's grandfather is my family. And we may not ever agree on everything, but what we're going to agree on is this. If there's a problem with Dr. Wyatt, come see Dr. Wyatt. You can't go see nobody about me. Because I said exactly what I said. I want people to understand that there is a whole lot of money being made on the miseducation of our children. Why aren't you mad about that? Why aren't you mad that they're trying to close an historically black school in a historically black community with no rhyme or reason? Why aren't you mad about that? Why aren't you mad that they continue to tell you there are no failing schools, but your child can't read? Why aren't you mad about that? And then everybody getting paid. They walking around here in the nicest of suits, living in the best of communities, able to afford bread and eggs at the same time. While you continue to struggle under the weight of a broken system, why aren't you mad about that? I keep wondering, am I losing my absolute mind? Because for me, it makes perfect sense to be critical of a system. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You're supposed to be critical of a system because that's how systems get better. But if you allow a system to keep perpetuating the fraud on your children and you say nothing about it, guess what it's going to continue doing? Perpetrating the fraud on your children. And then you're going to continue to see articles coming out, like the articles that are coming out now where these children are graduated from school and can't read or write. They're illiterate. But you let them tell you, oh, we climbed from 50 to 16th. That's what you let them tell you. But go ahead on and blame Dr. Wyatt. Do that. Blame the passion in my voice for the failure of our school system. Is that why it's failing? Because I'm saying something about it? Is that why? Because there's a lot about this article that should alarm a lot of people, but because I was the one alarmed, I'm somehow the problem. And then the conversation went to, well, I was talking about specific people, and I was talking about specific black people. Because I want black people to care enough about black children that money should not be the way, the rhyme or the reason for why you buy into the failure. Because yeah, your pockets might be growing, but your product isn't working. But somehow talking about it is the problem. And I'm, again, going to try to keep the passion to a 5 because the folk don't like when you speak with a certain authoritative voice because it hurts their feelings. Enough that they're calling around having private conversations, might I add. But here's the number, 504-582-9422. And we're right here at Xavier South if you ever want to come and participate in some discourse around schools. And that's for anybody whose name I've ever said. And I mean it with my entire heart. But if you don't like the fact that we're talking about the school system and the realities of it, then change the reality of it. That's all I think. But I want anywhere I work, anything that I do, I want people to be critical of it, because that's how you grow. If you think that you always have the right answers and your way is the only way, then listen, those are not the sort of people that I want to be in community with. Because do I always get it right? Absolutely not. But here's the difference. I could apologize if I get it wrong. I can say, now that I have this new information, now that I have this new data that I can actually vet, oh, you're right, but I don't have that. We don't see that. Where is it? Where is it? Because until you could get around that median ACT score, until you could get around those reading levels, don't tell me about some growth. Are the children proficient? That's what I want to know. I think it's strange that the charter people who push these fallacies on our children are always changing the metric for what success looks like. Because 2 years ago, they didn't want a local. Now they're screaming about a local. Why? Why? You didn't want a local. You didn't think a local could do anything for the charter structure or for the children of the city where locals grow up in. You didn't want that. But now you do. That, you know why? Because you got a local in your pocket now. But see, people don't like when I say that, but is it a lie? All I said last week was the same money kept me out the Bessie seat. It's the same money that put the young lady in the Bessie seat. Show me the lie. Why are people so offended by truth? But they have such a problem with the current national administration that don't do anything but lie. But see, a lot of y'all voted for him. Same people peddling this poison to our children, a lot of them voted for him too. That's why Project 2025 is alive and well in the state of Louisiana. Y'all can't see the dots being connected because I can. But I'm the problem because I can see it. I'm the problem because I call it out. And then the way that they framed this article against the former superintendent, I think is disingenuous. Because y'all tucked her under that NDA, but then y'all allow articles to come out and bash her and blame her for this over allocation or over projection or this missing money. Is it missing? But you allow publications to say that about her, and nobody stands up for it. The same folk that praised her on her way out, the same folk that praised her on her way in, put her under NDA and allow people to say all of these egregious things about it, and nobody corrected the record. Because she can't unilaterally or singularly be responsible for the money that is up in the air, the nearly 50 million that ballooned from 36 million. She can't unilaterally be responsible for that. But why isn't nobody speaking up? Because she's under the NDA, but the school board is not. That's because many of them are in the pockets of the charter school movement. And it's a problem when you say that, but it's the truth, is it not? Look at their campaign finances. Is it not the truth? Why is the truth such a problem? Or is it only a problem because I'm saying it? But I will tell you this, and I will be very clear with it. I stand fiercely in the defense of this city and its children. Imagine what I will do in defense of my own family. So y'all could proceed, but you best do it cautiously. Because this is crazy to me. To me, it is. That you can operate with impunity and kill the academic futures of our children, but we're supposed to just sit idly by and just allow you to do that. I don't see any charter people, none of them. None of these entities that push this poison. I don't see none of y'all telling the folk that there's an election coming up on March 29th and children are actually on the ballot. The fate of our children is on the ballot, but I don't see anybody over on that side talking about the importance of this election and why you should vote no on all of the amendments. You know why? Because our children's growth and freedom and the fact that they can thrive is not on their agenda. But y'all get mad when I say that. But I really and absolutely, I promise you, I don't have not a care to give you. None. But I'm gonna keep the tone down. But I bet you the words gonna still sting the same because you know it's the truth. All of the people who are in very high places pushing this structure on us, though none of their children have to suffer through these broken systems. Because if they put their children in any of these schools, it's gonna be one of the best. But y'all read the article for yourself. It's on the 74, based out of New York. A lady named Beth Hawkins wrote it. And she literally said with her whole chest that when they took the schools over at the time, it was one of the worst in the nation, into a totally new kind of system in which every school lived or died according to its performance contract. If you're going to tell a story, tell the truth. At least that's all I was asking for. We have to go to break. But when we come back, it's a talk radio show, so we're going to talk about it. But I promise not to raise my voice because, you know, somehow that is so scary for all of these wealthy people in charge of broken systems. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit nolapublicschools.com today. Again, that's nolapublicschools.com.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe, 60 Minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
To the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My super producer, Naira Sanders, is also in the building. And if you're just joining us, we were in conversation about a prior conversation we were having regarding this article written by the 74 as it pertains to who will be our next superintendent of New Orleans schools here in the city of New Orleans. Article is written out of New York. You know that Bloomberg money, that Walton Foundation money. You know all of that extreme wealth that probably we'll never, ever, ever see in our collective lifetimes. Yeah, that's 74. But the point of the conversation today was to just clear up some things. I do not apologize for telling truth. I do not apologize if the tone of my voice makes you uncomfortable, because I would dare say that I'm uncomfortable watching all of our children not read on grade level and die at the hands of gun violence because they don't see any other way to make it out of their circumstance, because education is sure isn't doing it for them. But you know, they say I'm the type of person that make excuses for children. Well, I would rather make excuses for the children than to make excuses for the fully grown, functioning, wealthy adults who doing all of the wrong thing and nobody holding accountable. Those people whose frontal lobes are fully developed, whose rhyme and reason should be fully intact. But see, dead presidents, That's the motive. What Wayne say? The money is the motive. That's what Wayne say. But y'all mad at me because y'all don't like my tone. Huh? Or is it that I don't perpetrate frauds on my community? I just tell you the truth. And I want the truth to be told in return. That's all. So that you give parents a full picture of what's really happening so that they can make the best informed decisions for their children. Right? You know who else isn't telling the truth about things? You know we have an election coming up on March the 29th. Early voting starts March 15th. And early voting ends March 22nd. Let me tell you how this article is framed for the Times, PicayuneNola.com, right? Because remember, we talked about single issue voters and making certain that you understand the context before you go and vote. Because yes, one part of it might sound good, it might feel good, it might feel like the right thing to do. But in totality, you're hurting the whole infrastructure. Because listen to how they framed this article as it relates to the election that is happening on March 29th. The heading says, Louisiana voters will decide approve teacher pay raises or keep education trust funds. Now, if I saw that article heading and they juxtapose teacher pay raises against an education trust fund, my immediate response is, of course we want to approve the teacher pay raises. Who wouldn't want the teachers to be paid? Smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. Because we're going to vote no on this, and I'm speaking as an educator. And see, we're not about to play this game. It says Louisiana residents will vote March 29th on a constitutional amendment that may seem cut and dry. Permanently paid teacher, the $2,000, and support staff, $1,000. It says Louisiana teacher salaries are much lower than their counterparts in other states, and despite years of promised raises, they've only received one-time stipends the past 2 years. Governor Jeff Landry has strongly expressed support for increasing educator pay. I'm sure you have. Because how could you love the teachers and don't like the children? Come on now, make it make sense. Saying in November that doing so much would be a much-deserved win for our unsung heroes. I'll say that again because maybe that went over your head. How could you advocate for the teachers while you persecute the children? Who the teachers gonna teach if all the children locked up for discretionary crimes that the legislator gets to decide what warrants adult incarceration, as if the laws don't already tell us that? But see, this is why I ask y'all to pay attention, because why are we trying to make this about either paying teachers or not? That's not what this is about. The article goes on to say the truth is we have the money to pay our teachers properly. That's what the governor said. We also have the money to educate our kids properly. Okay, if we make the changes to unshackle ourselves from the bad decisions of the past, I wonder what he's alluding to. What bad decisions of the past? Because see, we like people to let people talk and create this big picture, and they're not specific. But when Dr. White is specific about the who, what, when, where, and how, y'all get mad. I want you to put a name on it, Governor. If we make the changes to unshackle ourselves from the bad decisions of the past, or you mean like blowing up a whole school system and firing 7,500 educators and bringing in all of these inexperienced people from places in corners of the world we've never heard of to miseducate our children? Could that be one of those bad decisions? I don't know. I have to ask the governor. I don't know. But there's a trade-off, the article says. If voters approve the constitutional change known as Amendment 2 to free up money for teacher pay, it will mean diverting millions of dollars that help fund education efforts throughout the state each year, including early education programs and scholarships for aspiring teachers. So yeah, we gonna vote to give our support staff that $1,000, and we're going to vote to give our teachers that $2,000. But while we giving it to you, guess what? We're going to dismantle early education programs. No teacher worth their salt would think that's okay. Not in a state where the reading levels are already in crisis. And see, now, if y'all are paying attention, there's an article out there now where they're trying to go back to basics for the way we did math. But aren't they the same people that took us away from the basics? Y'all let them change the rules of the game to mass failure and then pretend that they're doing it for your best interest and nobody calls them out. They're the very people who removed us away from the basics of mathematics. Remember when we could just add, subtract, multiply, and divide like they did back in the day? How you do it with the steps? No, we got to go all the way to the east to come all the way back to the West Bank to get the answer now. That's what we do in math right now. But now they talk about going back to the basics. Who asked y'all to move away from the basics? Whose bright idea was that? But you see, when I say something about it, then I am made out to be like this insane person. Why? Because I'm defending a school system that raised me. I know what good school was because I attended them. I had good school leaders. I had great teachers who would come to your house looking for you when you didn't go to school. No, they wouldn't just wait for you to miss 10 days and write you up, have fans looking for your mama. No, they was going to come to your house and come get you. But that's also when the teachers lived in the community. That was also when you also went to church with your principal. That's when your mama could walk to school with your registration papers. You know, your shot records, your birth certificate, you know, that kind of thing. But now we putting our children on buses going 45 minutes one way and 45 minutes the next to go to a D school. But there are no failing schools in the city of New Orleans for a first time in a long time. We're doing so great. But we're doing so great, but we got to go back to basics and mathematics. Same people that took us away from the basics. Same structure. Now we gonna lean into you to fix it. Stop playing with us. That's all I'm asking. I think that's why I be so angry, because I feel like you be playing in my face. Yeah. So please don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Don't frame this like this is us voting against a teacher pay raise. No, this is us voting against the demise of the infrastructure and in favor of a minimal teacher pay raise. It's so small they probably won't even feel it. Because, you know, it's that same system where teachers are buying their own supplies for their classroom. We got all this money, but teachers are buying their own supplies for their classrooms. In the poorest schools and some of the poorest communities. Because I know there's some schools around here, they don't struggle like we struggle. They got tambourines for their music class. But you know, our children they're innovative. They could beat a bucket and make a better sound than a drum. So we're not mad about that because we know how to make something out of nothing. We innovative. We have ingenuity. We could do that. But why do they have to when there's all of this money floating around? Because if Bloomberg and the Walton Foundation and the DeVos people, if they really wanted our children to actually thrive, they would pour money into public schools. They wouldn't be trying to dismantle the Department of Education. But they don't want that for your children. Why is our school leader, I don't recall him saying anything. Is our superintendent speaking up against the dismantling of the Department of Education? And I want to know on what grounds. What grounds are you up against it? Is it because the federal dollars won't flow like they normally do? Because see, I'm against it because I want to protect the entity that is public education. I want to make certain that children with disabilities have a fighting chance to actually thrive in schools like their non-disabled counterparts, right? I want to make certain that children whose language is not, their first language is not English, can come here and thrive and not struggle because of a language barrier. I want to make sure that title money make it to title schools so that we can level the playing field financially, fiscally, right? That's what I want. That's why I want to see the Department of Education stay intact. But we have a WWE lady in charge. So clearly the government don't care. But she comes from wealth. Just like her predecessor. They don't know nothing about education. And the little they do know is privatized. So that's why they think privatized education works. For some reason, we're allowing people to sell us the fallacy that if we strip the public school of all of its finances and resources and we fund the private institution, that all of the children will somehow end up great. We read this book before. Y'all know how it ends. But they're going back to the basics, y'all, in mathematics. Same people that took you from the basics. They want to tell you that they're going to go back to the basics in mathematics. And here's the other thing about that article from the 74. There's a link in it where they try to tell you about how great the schools are doing since they took it over. And the link is written by the Education Research Alliance out of Tulane University. And it's a couple years old. It's 2019. So ask yourself why. If you're going to write an article in 2025 and you want to tell me how great the schools are doing, that you're going to go and find an article that's 6 years old. And it wasn't true then. So you know it's not true now. I mean, come on now. We have to be real with ourselves. Just tell the truth. That's all. I'm not mad about anybody that stands on the business of their product. But give us the data. Let us see it. You don't get to just throw out numbers and say we're doing well. We've grown so much. Let me see the data. Because, when they talk about the state, rarely are they ever talking about the city of New Orleans or the Orleans Parish School District. Show me the numbers. And if I'm wrong, I will gladly get on here and say, now that I have this new information, I see this data in front of me, I will humbly eat the humble pie. But I just want the numbers, so let me see them. Good morning, Miss White. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Dr. Wyatt, I love to hear your conversation. I want to say, for starters, I am a daughter of an educator in the city of New Orleans, and with regard to the information, and you're talking about data, which is really important to me. 18% in 19 years would be considered a failure in other professions. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely correct. I could tell you right now, I don't know any profession, none, not zero, any, not even in a grocery store. When they're training you and they put you on the register by yourself after a little bit, if you're going the same pace you were going when you started, 18 months later, you would not be on that register because you're messing with their productivity.
Or if you shorted them their money 18% while you're on the register, you still be cut short. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm just curious about that.
I agree.
Okay, so let me continue on with this. With all of the things that we have to get back to basics, I wonder if it includes removing the information about the whole truth about history. Because when we talk about teaching facts and teaching actual events, y'all want white kids to be comfortable. So are we getting back to the basics of those kids feeling comfortable at the cause and causation of black and non-white kids feeling uncomfortable just to spare their feelings? I'm curious if that's the basics that they're talking about.
Well, we do know they want to go back to the golden era, right? That's what they're pushing nationally, right? So if we go back there, we won't even be in the conversation. We wouldn't be in the conversation. So I think we all know. I think people, especially folk who are in our field, who actually care about educational outcomes, I think we all know. But see, my problem is there's a lot of us who are co-signing this who also know. But the money is working for them. And that's my problem. And if the money is your only motivation, then you need to get away from children. Find you a different entity to be in.
A lie by omission, is it still a lie, or is this, do we categorize that as a white lie? And are those better than just flat out giving us flip floor and
No, a lie by omission is still a lie. Ask anybody in a relationship. A lie by omission is still very much a lie.
Yeah, well, that's all I got. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Ms. White. Have a great one. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, sister. I just want to comment a little bit about Amendment 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Amendment 2, that's that failed attempt when the governor decided to have his constitutional convention.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things that's not being said. It narrows the Constitution protections for church and union properties.
Mm-hmm.
Limits local control over sales tax. That's why he wants your money.
Mm-hmm.
It liquidates several educational trust funds, deleting a fund supporting infant mortality program, changing pronouns in the Constitution, potentially increasing taxes on takeout food, removing constitutional authorities for farmers and fishermen program. So this tax deal for Amendment 2 goes way beyond education. This man is coming in here to take over the, it's said, limiting sales tax, but that means he's going to control the sales tax.
Yeah.
The most revenue generating parish in the state of Louisiana.
Well, it's
is
about
Orleans.
controlling everything. He wants to control everything. He's mirroring what Trump is doing on a national level. He wants to remove people who aren't loyal to him, and he wants to appoint people who will be lockstep with him. It's all about control. And we're allowing them to frame it as anything but what it actually is.
Well, the thing I'm saying is people need to understand this thing is way, way, way more broader than what they think it is. And if we don't wake up and go address these issues, this man, nationally and on a state level, will now take more and more away from us. See, they're not telling you about the trust funds and education that's going to go away.
Yeah.
You get one-time money, and then there is no more money. Because the source of that money, or where how that money has been being built up, is now gone.
Yeah.
So how then do we organize, get our folks to understand? It's unfortunate, but everybody don't listen to WBOK.
Right.
And we need now to have a real aggressive attack on what is happening in our city. If they keep us educationally poor, and again, it was supposed to have been way back in the game, separate but equal, which they determined it was never equal. But they are definitely trying to get it back to separate. They don't want you to participate.
Thank you
And
so
they
much.
don't
I agree.
want people that have knowledge, that understands the process of what can happen, to say anything.
Right.
I'm going to read this lady, Beth, whoever she is.
Please read it. It's on the
report.
74. The article is entitled Awash in Crisis. New Orleans, the whole title says Awash in Crisis. New Orleans searches for a new superintendent again. That's the title of the article. Please read it.
I am.
Thank you
But
so much, Rev.
Answer me this.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that so many people nationally have such a big interest in the school system in New Orleans?
Well, that's always
And
been my
again-
question. But you got to ask the local people who benefiting from it. Ask them. That's why I framed my question the way I did. Those people are way over there controlling outcomes all the way over here. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself
Has
why.
anybody ever looked at just how much money has flown, has came through this charter management system?
I bet you it's in the billions with a B. Big money, big B. I bet it is.
Maybe we need to talk about what's really happening with money and who's really benefiting from these issues that goes on.
Yeah.
All right, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Rev. Have a good one.
You do the same.
Listen, before we go to break, I want to make certain that you are very clear, because remember I asked, where does our state superintendent, where does he fit in here? In the article, it says Kay Brumley, the state superintendent of education, expressed unequivocal support for the amendment, saying he believes the trade-off is worth it if it helps the state retain and attract qualified teachers. Now they're talking about attracting and retaining teachers. But since they like to compare this system to the old system, y'all had 7,500 veteran educators that y'all washed away in the floodwaters of Hurricane Katrina. Y'all remember that? But now you're talking about retaining and attracting qualified teachers like TFA was doing? Is that why y'all created TFA? To attract qualified teachers? Come on now. We have to stop allowing these people to play in our face. Because he goes on to say there's nothing more important than a classroom teacher for kids' academic success. You're certainly right. And you don't even need a PhD to know that. But opponent says it's misguided, and it's a way to eliminate protected source of educational revenue. I agree. The Louisiana Policy Institute for Children has warned that the fund's removal will leave nearly 1,600 children without access to early childhood programs. I don't know a teacher worth their salt that would trade the early education of 1,600 babies for a $1,000 pay raise. I don't know not one. I don't know not one. Not one. Not one. But if they're giving teachers $1,000, $2,000, what they making? What that backroom deal is? Like, tell us what the skimming off the top gonna get you. Because if y'all giving the teachers $2,000, what you making for this deal? Stop playing in our face. I don't know one teacher, not one, that would trade the academic success of early childhood or the academic opportunity for early childhood for a $1,000 pay raise. I don't know one. Not one. But Brumley said the state could possibly backfill funding for significant endeavors like early childhood education. Now they tell you they're going to backfill it. They want you to vote for this so they could eliminate it, but then they're going to tell you about they're going to backfill the funding. I can't, and I won't. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not. You're not going to put me on no hamster wheel. I could think a little bit. And all I'm asking everybody else to do is just think a little bit. They have to make it make sense. The math has to math, and it's not. It's not. Do not allow them to frame this like you're voting against a teacher pay raise. You're not. You're voting for the infrastructure that is early childhood. Think about the infrastructure that's going to collapse if you vote for this. We're asking you on March 29th. I'm asking you, me, Dr. Y, vote no, all of it, all the way down. We got to go to break and pay a few bills, but it's a radio talk show, so we're going to continue to talk about it. And let me tell y'all what we're going to jump into next. Y'all remember about that warehouse where they house those unhoused people to get them out the way when the visitors were coming? I'm going to give y'all the update on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 a.m. what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 a.m. from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
We're off to a mostly cloudy start, eventually seeing more sunshine throughout the day, becoming mostly sunny with highs in the upper 60s to low 70s. Clear and cool tonight, lows in the 40s and the 50s. A slightly warmer Tuesday and sunny, highs in the mid-70s, upper 70s, and low 80s by mid to late week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse and hitting the road.
I know. Just got the notification.
Great. Smooth sailing so far. I'm almost there.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Made it. Safe and sound.
I know.
Well, did you know I was with USPS the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Keep your business in the know with the USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
Do you know what United Way can do for you and your community? Find out by listening to United Way and You every Thursday at noon on WBOK 1230. United Way continues to fight for the most vulnerable members of the community. Find out how this Thursday and every Thursday at noon.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also here in the building with me. We're going to go straight to the phone lines. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yes, good morning, the good doctor.
Hi.
Yeah. And I heard the good reverend speaking on the these trusts, and I heard you speaking on the governor taking on the Trump-isms in his governorship and these trusts. But as with the federal government, and especially the U.S. Congress, they were elected by the people of their district to represent them, not just politically, but they have a fiduciary responsibility. See, with trust, there's a fiduciary responsibility as well. It is by law, they have to look out for the best interests of the beneficiaries. In the case of the U.S. House of Representatives, that is their constituents. They can't abdicate their responsibility to Elon Musk or any other outside entity where you have billionaires waiting, licking their chops to benefit from hard-earned tax revenue at the subjugation of the taxpayer. So they will be held accountable ethically and legally. So whenever the governor talk about trust, whenever you hear trust funds and things of that nature, there's trust funds has a three-party. There's two parties involved. Whenever you say trust fund, there's a trustee and there's the beneficiary. In the case of the trust funds, a public trust fund, the public is the beneficiaries, and they cannot. The governor, I don't care what he rant and rave about, he cannot be serving any trust or for his benefit or his cronies' benefit. That is illegal, and they should be held accountable for those type of unethical and illegal maneuvers. And the public has to become aware of and stand up for their interests in these trust funds. There's a trust fund created, for instance, UNO is suffering financially. They say because of student enrollment. But the issue is, how has they been supported by the LSU system before and now the University of Louisiana? How has all the universities been supported through the revenues that the state generates through oil and gas and through all of the other assets and resources that the state produces, tourism, hotel taxes, all of these things go into a coffer for the benefits of the constituents and the state. And these people advocating their responsibility. And when they talk about putting their cronies and paying off people in their own self-interest, All those things are not just unethical, they're illegal, and people have to wake up and hold these people accountable, as you are with your passion about education, Dr. Wyatt. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate you. Listen, I don't disagree with anything, and since we're talking unethical, Don, I believe me. But I'm not a legislator. I'm not a politician, lawmaker. I'm not any of those things. But it seems to be quite unethical to slide a bill addressing the incarceration of our children as young as 14 into a session about taxes. That felt really unethical to me. It felt like a sleight of hand. That's what it felt like. If you're going to invite me somewhere and you give me an agenda, and when I get there, and I'm prepared to engage with this agenda and it's something completely different, I should have the right to opt out of that, because it's not what I came here prepared to discuss. But we allow folk to do things because of this title that they hold. But the title that you're holding is beholden to the public. Like the public servants, elected officials, work for the betterment of their citizenry. So I don't understand why we treat these folk like there's some sort of dons or mafia leaders or like, who are they that they can't be critiqued, or you can't ask them anything, or you can't question what they're doing with your tax dollars. It's your money. I don't understand how people think a title gives them absolution, like absolute control, absolute power. You're not Thanos. Out here in search of infinity stones, this is, to me, very blatant what's happening here. And when you hear certain people being in lockstep with something that makes absolutely no sense for the majority of people, you have to ask yourself, how do they benefit? What's the benefit in black folk in positions of authority and power to speak up, but they're silent? What's the benefit? Because don't pretend like you don't know it's happening, because ignorance will never be a proper defense, not for me. You have to know what's going on. And the fact that not many of you are saying something about it, or if you're saying it, maybe you're saying it privately over some cognac or something, but you're sure not making enough noise publicly. That's why I look so crazy to people. Because it's like I be screaming into the abyss. And it's like, why is she screaming? Don't nobody else care? That's why I look like a crazy person. Because I don't have a power position or any sort of title that gives my voice the credibility that people are searching for. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm not going to shy away from tough conversations, because in my opinion, this is simply my opinion. That's the disclaimer here. I believe peddling the miseducation of our children is synonymous with guns and drugs. But see, the difference is the guns and the drugs come with implicit warning labels, right? We know if you do drugs, we've been learning since little. DARE, the program DARE, you see the people that participate in the drugs. You see what they look like. You see how their lives are going, right? You see it. So there's like walking warning labels on it. Guns, if you don't handle the gun properly, what could possibly happen, right? You don't have gun safety, you know what's going to happen. But tell me where are the warning labels for this miseducation system that's going on right here in this city? Because we get propaganda, we get big A's on banners, and we get nice shiny flyers, and we get commercials and radio spots, and it sounds good, right? It don't come with no warning label. They don't have no fine print on it. But I'm the fine print. I'm the warning label, and I'm going to keep on saying something about it. And the only way you're going to get me to be quiet is to show me. Show me that it's working. Show it to me. Because I don't know nobody that got 20 years to keep growing. Keep growing and keep growing and never been proficient in your whole 20 years of existence. But you want to tell us we were the worst district in the nation, one of the worst in the nation? That's a lie. And you don't like that I say it's a lie, but that's a lie. The best defense against anything that you feel is untrue, whether you think it's libel, slander, defamation, the best defense is the truth. Tell the truth, shame the devil. That's how I feel. But you will never be able to get away with saying and doing the things that you're saying and doing against my children in my city, and I don't say something about it. And if I'm misinformed, then show me the information. Give it to me. And I want it to come from an entity with no dog in the fight that could be peer reviewed and fact checked. You know, not from your data house that's going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to go get the data points you want. They're going to go investigate the small faction of the city where education is working for a small group of people. No. I want big picture numbers. I want something that could inform future research for the educational outcomes in New Orleans. But that might be asking for too much. We got to go to break and pay a few bills. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company, the president and CEO. We're going to be talking about the United States State Department selecting New Orleans as one of the only 2 cities nationwide to apply for the UCCN. We're going to get into it with Walt Leger after the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. President Trump's envoy for hostages, Adam Boehler, says Hamas is open to a peace deal with Israel, disarming and relinquishing political power. Negotiations show promise, but Boehler didn't specify potential Israeli concessions or the creation of a Palestinian state. Pope Francis is responding well to treatment for double pneumonia, showing gradual improvement. The Vatican reported he is resting after a quiet night with stable oxygen levels and no fever. The Department of Health and Human Services is offering a voluntary buyout to all 80,000 employees with a $25,000 incentive payment. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. previously mentioned he had a list of staffers he'd like to see removed. And the South by Southwest Festival is underway in Austin, Texas. Filmmakers and fans alike have gathered to celebrate the convergence of the tech, film, and music industries. The festival runs through March 14th. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Attention New Orleans educators. Are you ready to transform literacy education in your school? The 2025 Literacy Leader Cohort is a 2-year program designed to empower middle and high school leaders with cutting-edge science of reading training, coaching support, expert-led workshops, and earn a $3,000 stipend. Apply by March 21st to lead the way in reshaping literacy for our city students. Don't miss this chance to grow and make a lasting impact. Visit newschoolsneworleans.org to apply and learn more.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Before the break, we were talking about all things state of this city. But right now, we're going to jump into conversation with Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. Good morning, Walt. How are you doing? Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm great. Absolutely. Listen, so this UN Creative Cities Network, can you tell us more about that? Like, what is the role of it, and how would the cultural development and sustainability, how is that when you talk about globally? What's the impact there?
Yeah, well, thank you. We, a couple of years ago, our team started looking at the UNESCO UN Creative Cities Network as an opportunity to elevate the culture of New Orleans globally. And when I learned that there were a few other cities around the country who had pursued this designation and that New Orleans wasn't one, I had our team start digging in and trying to figure out how we could be competitive and what made sense for us. And so recently we've submitted an application through the U.S. State Department, which is the first step, to have New Orleans designated as a creative city for music. Obviously, we all know the power of music and how important it is to the culture of our city, and trying to figure out a way to make sure that the world continues to know it, but also how we can partner with other creative cities around the world to develop a more sustainable model for our culture bearers to be able to thrive. We thought we should pursue it. We did. Really proud to say that the State Department designated us as one of only 2 cities that will be able to go forward and compete at the international level for this designation. And so at this point, we're just awaiting a decision from UNESCO as to whether or not we have successfully completed the application process. And then there'll be an up or down vote by the 350 member cities across the world as to whether or not we'll be inducted into this list. So very excited about what it holds for us, and think it really elevates our city moving forward and the people who are creating the culture as well.
Well, listen, thank you for taking the initiative to even want to put us in the conversation, because who wouldn't have thought that New Orleans was already the city of music in my mind? Maybe I'm biased because this is my city.
No, I hear you. Well, I'll tell you what set me off was I learned that San Antonio had been designated as a UNESCO creative city for gastronomy, meaning, culinary and food. And I was kind of like, whoa, well, that's nice. Good for them. I mean, more power to them, but who's got better food than we do? And so we kind of dug in. One of the challenges we had was you start looking at this list and you're like, well, what should we compete for? Because they designate cities for film, music, crafts and folk art, literature, media arts, gastronomy, and architecture. And I feel like we could compete in about 5 or 6 of those categories. And so it was difficult to make a decision about what made the most sense for us, but we worked with a lot of people throughout the community, and ultimately we decided we felt like music was the right place for us to set ourselves apart from the other creative cities in the country and also around the world. So cities like, there are a few other music cities across the world, cities like Liverpool in the UK, Medellin in Colombia, and Havana in Cuba. So we're hopeful to join that list and add some value to those cities as well.
Absolutely. So for me, I was thinking as you were talking, some of the biggest names in music always sample music from smaller creatives here in the city. So that tells you where we can go with this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And as you said, I agree. When you were reading off the list, we could compete in a number of those categories. But I think music is definitely the way to go in terms of making us a part of UNESCO. So how does the UN Creative Cities help cities like New Orleans use culture and creativity as tools for sustainable development and growth?
Well, so one, it's always good to be able to learn from counterparts around the world and figure out best practices, things that have happened that have allowed them to create a more, a more effective ecosystem. We of course have been working here with organizations like GNO Inc. and others trying to support business development in the music industry and creating pathways for people to be able to monetize their creative. We at New Orleans and Company, we recently started a musicians database. So every musician in the city can have a free website on our website, a microsite that allows them to promote their music. We get about 12 million hits a year on our website. So we want to create those opportunities for the emerging artists to be able to, leverage that reach. They can put samples of their music on there. They can promote themselves, hopefully get more gigs out of it, and ultimately get more exposure. But what we also want to do is figure out ways for them to be able to make the right choices for themselves when it comes to publishing, when it comes to entering into agreements with record labels and other things, and make sure that they have the tools available to be business people as well as musicians, and therefore keep more of the money that they're creating in the ecosystem of music.
So there are like 75 cities around the world that have this designation as cities of music. What do you think sets New Orleans apart as a unique candidate for this same designation?
I think the vast impact that we've had on music really sets us apart. You know, we're known as the birthplace of jazz, but jazz is also the mother and the father of so many other genres of music, and continues to add value to the music, to emerging music trends across the world. So I really feel like it has an international reach, and that is sort of our claim to fame. But it's also led to so much other music being created. I mean, bounce influenced by jazz and by the sounds that people have heard around them for generations here in this city. R&B, rap, of course. I mean, so many other genres have been influenced by our kind of native genre, if you will, and we continue to innovate and advance the music industry. So, you referenced it as well. So many renowned artists from around the world that sample music from artists here in New Orleans. It's just a testament to the creativity and I think the innovation that we bring to the table. So I know that there are a lot of cities who have already expressed their desire for us to be in this network, because they recognize that, kind of like you said, it's surprising that we're not already a part of it. But we're excited to go compete, and I think ultimately you have to take the initiative to go join and become a member, and that takes a lot of work. So I commend Tristan Bagala on our team, who worked really, really hard for many years on putting this application together, and also working with the mayor's office and Lisa Alexis, and with the Bayou District Foundation, Jacob Peters, and so many others across the community, whether it's Shaka Zulu, Big Chief Shaka Zulu, or Monk Boudreaux. We've got Wendell Brunius and Reed Wick from the Recording Academy. John Batiste is a leader of our advisory board as well, and so many others representing venues across the city, like Curtis Doucette over at Dewdrop Inn. So we've got a really good team of people who have been working on this and putting together a really compelling application that beat out other cities, and now puts us in a position to be able to compete on the international stage. And hopefully in the next few months we'll hear the affirmative that we've been invited to join.
So that was leading into my next question. Now that we have submitted the application, when do you expect to hear back from UNESCO about the decision?
Yeah, I wish we knew a little bit more. We just found out during Mardi Gras that we had been chosen to go compete at the international level. We were required to submit an additional application on March the 3rd, which we did. And now we're just kind of waiting to hear. They tell us that it'll be several months, but they'll give us a better idea as time goes on. So we're not exactly sure, but we're hopeful that by possibly by the fall, we'll get some indication that we've been accepted.
And do you plan on continuing to advocate for the City of Music designation even as you await the answer from UNESCO?
Yeah, to the extent that we can. I think that we have now connected enough with our State Department, and I believe they're now doing some of the outreach to communicate with the Secretary General at UN and other necessary parties. We're trying to make sure that we follow all the rules and do everything correctly and precisely. But we have had to and have created some really strong relationships with cities around the world as we gathered information about this process. So we believe we've got some strong allies that are advocating for us, and we'll continue to do what we're supposed to do and look forward to hearing from them. But we think it's a really great way to give our city a leg up. We'll be able to promote this. Our culture bearers will be able to promote it, and hopefully it'll lead to even more opportunities for people, not just here in the city, but as they spread their wings and get out into cities around the country and around the world to be able to have further networks that can enhance their careers as well.
And let's talk about that, though. So how does joining UNESCO open up those new opportunities for New Orleans musicians, festival organizers, and our culture leaders?
Well, I think it is all really designed to create more opportunities for that kind of networking to occur. So I think it creates numerous opportunities and a natural kind of introductory point to begin conversations about how we can potentially send our folks to their location and they can potentially send people to ours. You know, the Jazz and Heritage Festival for many years has hosted a cultural exchange. I think that we can grow that and expand upon it as time goes on. But yeah, the UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So it's a organization inside the United Nations organization, and it's really empowered to help. The Creative Cities Network is empowered to help connect cities to one another so that we can innovate and prosper together through the arts. So I think the opportunities are numerous, but it's definitely a jumping off point, and it sets you apart from just any other city that hasn't gone through this process.
And so this may sound like a silly question, but I'm just not familiar. Well, is there only one designation that can be given to a city? So like you apply to be a city of music. Can you apply to be a city of food or anything like that? Can you do more than one designation?
So at this point, they're only allowing you to pursue a single designation. We're not sure if that'll continue in the future or not. And, you know, there's also the UNESCO World Heritage Site designation, which is a little bit of a larger designation, often reserved for specific sites. And so we believe that New Orleans is a world cultural heritage site, or should be in some way, and has certainly many assets that could be. And so we want to continue to pursue ways that we can work with UNESCO and with the UN in the future. But we felt like this was an appropriate first step to engage and hopefully successfully engage them and then grow the relationship from there. But to your point, I think we certainly could pursue future designations if it were allowed, because I do think there's so much rich culture here that that one designation alone is probably not enough. But for now, we're going to pursue this one aggressively, and we'll see where it leads.
And are there any cultural exchange programs or international collaborations that you hope to gain with this UNESCO designation?
I think the answer is yes. I'm not sure exactly which ones we will want to pursue. We'll look for the ones that have the highest return on investment for our community. But ultimately, we're excited about partnering with numerous cities, and I could see us partnering with creative cities of food or of architecture or literature or any of the other types to create some sort of a real gathering of and celebration of culture. I think a cool thing to do would be to look at other cities designated in other ways and see how we can bring those things together to create really impressive experiences for residents and for visitors alike that'll really enrich the engagement that we currently have and take it to another level.
And before we go to break, can you tell us about some of these potential benefits for the city of New Orleans if it becomes a part of UNESCO as a city of music in terms of international exposure and collaborations?
Well, one, being designated on this list, I think, is really important. There are 100 countries and 350 cities that are currently listed, but obviously to be one of the chosen few is something that a lot of people pursue but don't always make it. So we're hopeful that we'll get granted that. And then secondly, we'll utilize that to remind the world that we're one of the most remarkable and special cities on the planet, and that now has a stamp of approval from UNESCO. So I do think it's an important marketing and promotion tool to be able to get that designation, and that opens doors to future opportunities.
Right. I absolutely agree. I really find this to be, I'm telling you, I'm sitting here listening and I'm like, we should be in almost every category because this is so rich with culture here. When I think about our masking culture that we have here, is there a designation for that? Like the beading work that is happening here, is there a designation in UNESCO for things of that nature?
Yeah, I think that would probably fall under crafts and folk art designation, but certainly we've included the Black Masking Indians and leaders in that industry in this advisory group because we understand how critical music plays in the celebration of that art form. And so we wanted to make sure that they got celebrated and highlighted as well. But yes, I agree. I think they, for their artwork alone, they could be designated in this manner. And hopefully we can create some exchanges that honor that tradition and create new opportunities for them. We recently partnered with Vogue magazine, who came in and did a remarkable article and highlight of black masking Indian culture, but particularly the beadwork. And there's some really incredible artwork that goes along with that. And we're really proud of being able to bring in that high level of magazine to give an elevation to our creative culture as well. Really amazing thing to see.
So just for clarity, there isn't a timeline yet on when we are expected to hear back from UNESCO?
That's right. I wish we had a better timeline. We've been told that we'll get more clarity as time goes on, and that as they get closer to making that decision, they'll provide us with some dates. But at this time, the vote, the up or down vote that's going to take place later this year is going to be on a date that is not known to us.
Listen, we have to go to break over here, pay a couple bills, but can you stay with us a few more moments after the break?
I'd be happy to. Sure.
Okay, so listen, after the break, we'll continue to jump into conversation with Walt Leger, the president and CEO of New Orleans and Company, talking about this Creative Cities Network and waiting to see if we'll be designated as a city of music. I'm excited. I hope you're excited, but stay with us right here. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also in the building. And if you're just joining us, we've been in conversation with the president and CEO of New Orleans and Company, Mr. Walt Leger, talking about this UNESCO designation that we're hoping we hear from pretty soon. And Walt, can we talk about like the future of New Orleans as a city of music if New Orleans receives this UNESCO City of Music designation? How do you see it impacting the city's future music scene, particularly from emerging artists and younger generations?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that we would hope to continue to build upon is some great work that people are doing throughout the community now, which is finding ways to continue to educate kids and help them get all of the opportunities they need and exposure to music education. We do have some incredible schools doing incredible work, but I think that we want to find ways to expand upon that. Obviously, we've embraced October as Music Month in New Orleans over the last couple of years, and really we recognize music's an important part of our daily life, but we thought it was important enough to try to find a time of year where we could really focus in on it from a marketing standpoint and promote that and push that out. And so what we tell people is you can basically find incredible music in venues across our city any day of the year, but in October we're going to celebrate that and cultivate this music month. So I'd hope to grow upon that. We've worked to build this NOLA by NOLA event over the last several years, which kind of came out of COVID, but was meant to be a way of supporting local music venues and local music talent and attract people to come to their shows. That happens at the end of September and into October. So, I think trying to grow those things and grow the knowledge around those things so that people around the country and around the world can be more aware of it and can come here and experience it and be, and therefore support the artists who are creating it. I think we're going to continue to do things like we tried to do during the Super Bowl this year, which was find ways to highlight and elevate New Orleans artists wherever we can. We look at events like that, and, we had 5 or 6 artists who got really elevated in the pregame. In the past few years, we've had things like Miss Universe, where Tank and the Bangas and some others got some real exposure as a part of that event. And we recognize that, unfortunately, even when you have these major events, you can't elevate every musician in the city, but you can elevate music in New Orleans and thereby create more opportunities in the future for musicians from New Orleans, and then utilize the musician database to keep pushing even our emerging artists out there and get them exposure as well so that they can get the gigs and get new opportunities. So, I think just continue to grow upon this as a real opportunity to elevate music in our city internationally, make sure that because the world's a competitive place, everybody's trying to get what we have here and attract what we get, to come to our city. We have to keep competing at the highest level to make sure that people keep choosing New Orleans as a destination for their special events, for their major events, for their conventions and conferences. And this is a way that we can do that.
And listen, you've said so much, and I felt like you always was leading into my next question, but what message would New Orleans UNESCO designation send to the world about the city's dedication to its culture, creativity, and sustainable growth?
I think it says that we are committed to it and ensuring that we are elite when it comes to how we show up and compete, that we're not just any other city, that we are one of the elite cities in culture and in music in the world, and that we show up that way, and that we are going to utilize all of our tools available to us to keep promoting that and creating new opportunities for our emerging artists, and of course continue to celebrate our artists that are known around the world and that are celebrated around the world. Our city has an international airport named after a musician, arguably our most famous, and somebody that I think generations of New Orleanians and people around the world, sing those songs to their children when their kids are growing up and when they're babies. And these are important, parts of culture, not just in New Orleans and in Louisiana, but across the nation and across the world. And I think the designation is deserved, and I hope that it'll come to us. I think we should never forget how special music is to our culture.
Absolutely. And listen, you have a caller before we let you go. Papa Baptiste is on the phone. Good morning, Papa Baptiste. I don't know how we lost Walt Leger. He was not locked in. See if you could get him back. But Papa Baptiste, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Doc. Peace and blessings. And as I always say, comment ça va to everybody from Papa Jean-Baptiste Sr. We have been working with that. My son Damon had a program that he started that I became a part of in 2009, And the company that saw that I had over 50 years of experience in the arts and music, they named the school after me. It was called D.R. Baptiste Cultural Arts Academy. Ludacris even came to the school from Atlanta to check it out. And I noticed later that these guys, some of the other entertainers, tried to have something like we started here through my son Damon's program in New Orleans. So we want to work with all of the people. We have one of the oldest Baptiste in music living here right now. It happens to be John Baptiste's uncle. That's me. And so if we don't stand up and talk for ourselves, when we work with the children, talking about children, thanks to the program, we brought kids to the White House to perform for Barack and Michelle Obama. So as a person, as a Papa Baptiste, a lot of things I've looked at that my son and I help elevate people, and as we help them to elevate themselves, nobody's turning this off and look back to us, and that could start at the top big entertainer or family or non-family. But we've been doing those programs from our heart, not for the money, not for the glory, but actually for the children in the city of New Orleans and basically around the state. So we'd like to be a part of that international program. We've traveled, we've brought kids abroad, so we love to be reached out to, as the oldest Baptiste with the most amount of musicians and entertainers that's in the world right now, and still perform with the great artists. And then we just had over, 60,000 people so come out to celebrate my son Russell's birthday at last year's Jazz Fest. David Russell Baptiste Jr., the young lion, the Purple Knight. So here's a family that's been in it, spending our own money, our own time, from our heart and for all of the right reasons.
Walt, are you there?
Yeah, I got disconnected, but I'm back on. And we'd be thrilled to work with you. And all you got to do is reach out to us, and we'll follow up with you and keep you involved in every way possible. We're excited to work with everybody. We're not limited in who we can work with, and certainly this is going to create a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. Ultimately, somebody's got to organize the application process and put together all of this, all of the work that goes in with working with the UN. But we're excited to work with you and whoever else is interested in partnering with us to do some creative things as we go forward. There's no limitation on who or what or where or how. It's just a matter of getting the designation and then trying to utilize it. I think it'll accrue to the benefit of you, your organization, the work that you've done, and certainly we can all work together on that.
Well, I'll be looking forward to it, Walt. This is Papa Baptiste. You could also reach me through the New Orleans Musicians Union. But everybody know my sons. They know Jamal. They know Ryan. They know Damon. And they know that, they know that we do this. This is from the heart stuff. This is not for the glory of it.
I keep in pretty close. I keep in pretty close touch with your son Damon. He and I text and keep in touch. So we'll absolutely be in touch.
All right, Walt. Well, everybody, thank you for doing this. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you for all you're doing, Walt, and all the people that's around you that's supporting you. So, and thank you, WBOK, for having this platform where we could talk about the young musicians of the future, because there is a future for the young musicians in New Orleans.
Thank you, Papa. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you.
So, Walt, look, I listen, I'm grateful for it as well. And I love the fact that WBOK is a platform where folk can engage with our city leaders and get the information in real time. And again, I want to thank you personally for taking the initiative to even fill out this application to go after these designations. But I also, as soon as they say we can do more, I want you to go after more.
Yep, we want to do more. Well, yeah, look, thank you for the platform, too, and to be able to share it this morning. And I do want to say we have an incredible team that works incredibly hard every day, trying to bring events to the city, trying to bring these types of opportunities to the city, and they never stop working, and they just have a deep love for our city, for the community, and want to uplift it. And if we all keep working together, we can do anything.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to the response from UNESCO. So can you promise to just come back and
Absolutely.
give us the update? Because, see, I'm already speaking it into existence.
It's going to happen.
Come
we feel
back
confident,
on and let us know when we get the City of Music designation from UNESCO. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, Walt. Have a great one.
All right, take care.
All right. Listen, there's no better place than New Orleans for all things culture. And again, we want to thank Walt Leger, President and CEO of New Orleans and Company, for taking the initiative to go after this much coveted designation. As we said, there's about 75 cities that already have the City of Music designation, and we're hoping to be number 76. So shout out to Walt over there at New Orleans Company, and we'll hear more from him when we get the good news about our UNESCO City of Music designation. But before Walt jumped on, I was telling you guys about the update to the warehouse situation that was going on when they used this warehouse to house our unhoused population. And now it's saying currently that the Gentilly Temporary Homeless Shelter's future is uncertain as lease nears end of its expiration, which is happening Tuesday, as in tomorrow. The state weighs extension. It says state officials consider extending Gentilly shelter operations for unhoused residents as the lease nears expiration. I believe this thing has cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $19 million, I want to say, and counting. It says the Louisiana's Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, which oversees the facility, has spent millions operating the shelter, which costs approximately or approaching $19 million. GOHSEP has requested reimbursement from the United States Department of Homeland Security, but has not yet received a response. The director, Mr. Thibodeau, says that the agency has found permanent housing for many and is working to continue that success. I guess that's a really good thing, to look for more permanent housing for this unhoused population. It says so far we've had 47 people that we have leases for in Keys, and actually for their new homes or rental property, and we have another 49 that are pending some form of lease in the process. So that's a pretty good success story in and the fact that we have over 90 people that either have been placed in new locations or in the process. And they literally wrote this how he said it, with the us included, which I had to kind of chuckle at. The spokesperson for GOHSEP said a decision on the facility's future could come as soon as Monday or Tuesday. And so I guess the bright side of this is that there are about 90 people who are in the process of receiving some sort of permanent housing. But at its peak, the shelter accommodated 183 people, nearing its 200-person capacity. But as of last week, just over 100 people remained. So out of the remaining people, it seems that the majority of them, if not all of them, are on track to get some form of permanent housing. But that facility costs the taxpayers about $19 million to run. I'm not certain how much money is going into this permanent housing situation, but I think anytime we can treat people humanely and give them something to call their own, and we can get them off the street into a more humane environment, I think it's a win-win. So that's the update on that facility. Hopefully all of the people who were impacted by the sudden displacement of their belongings and things of that nature, because whether we believe it's important to them. So hopefully all of those people have an opportunity to get some more permanent opportunities for housing. So that's the update there. I want to also jump into an update regarding this travel ban that the New Orleans City Council unanimously voted to approve in terms of travel for the mayor and other city officials in the wake of the legislation. I ain't gonna say legislation, I'm sorry, it's the legalities regarding this money that is owed to the school district by the city of New Orleans. And it says, according to its website, this annual Yale Mayor's College Conference is where Mayor LaToya Cantrell traveled to, which was in Washington, D.C. It says, according to its website, the program brings together mayors from mid-sized to large cities across the United States with leading scholars in healthcare policy, urban sociology, and history. In a statement, the city says the annual conference was confirmed on the mayor's office schedule well before the recent council ordinance. Last month, New Orleans City Council issued a strict temporary ban on all non-essential travel by city employees and officials. That move came amid an ongoing school funding fight as the mayor's travel has previously been scrutinized. The city says upon the mayor's return, she will participate in community engagement efforts supporting a program for future youth leaders. When I first read this article, I was confusion because I was like, what does this last statement have to do with the travel while there's a ban on travel, well, for non-essential travel? And then in the statement, it says that the annual conference was confirmed on the mayor's schedule well before the recent council ordinance. Again, the only side I'm on in this fight is the kids. And I want the children to have their monies so that invaluable programming and personnel, none of that stuff is cut from our children. That's what I want. And at the end of the day, it's really, to me, quite simple. I do not think it's fiscally responsible to spend money on legal maneuvers to pay out money, to chase money, but that's just my opinion. I'm not in a decision-making capacity. I don't call the shots there, but I'm just giving my opinion about the news. That's another thing that goes over y'all's heads when y'all are hypercritical about my stance. It's in the news, and I'm giving my opinion as a radio show personality about the news. And for me, it's very simple. The money belongs to the children, and as city leaders, whether it's city council or the mayor, we have to come together and do what is best for the children. And speaking of that, good news always travels at a turtle speed, right? But anything that they consider salacious, it goes at lightning speed. So anytime that they feel like I'm hypercritical about something that they're probably benefiting from, or maybe their significant others or their daughters or sons or somebody's in control of these systems, so they're mad because I'm talking about it. But they never talk about when I'm fighting on the same side as the same systems that they portray that they're supporting. Because I'm all for teachers having pay raises. I think they deserve them. I just don't think we ought to burn down the infrastructure to give them $1,000. That just doesn't make no sense, right? We figure out a way to fund everything else. If you want teachers to have a pay raise, find a better way to give it to them that doesn't strip much needed money from systems such as early child care, early childhood education. That's the point right there. So no. Don't skip over the parts where I'm very supportive of structures, because I've even been supportive of not trying to dismantle this charter school mess in its entirety, right? No, because I do not think every school is dysfunctional. Just like I don't think every school is dysfunctional pre-charters, right? If the charters are doing well, we don't want to dismantle them and throw them away. We don't want that. I believe that in order for us to have harmony, there has to be some sort of hybrid system. But that means y'all getting out of the way of traditionally run public schools. Because, see, nobody talks about that, how y'all fight so hard against traditionally run public schools or district-run public schools. Y'all fighting so hard. Y'all down-talked the Leah Chase School, and it had just opened. Hadn't even done business yet. And the charter folk were in an uproar, talking down on it and saying all type of negative things about it. And it had not even been in operation yet. But nobody talks about that. But the moment you start talking about this charter school operation, everybody that benefits from it, whether it's by contract or by some quid pro quo-ness that we know goes on here, then they're up in arms. They're up in arms. But I continue to say, show me the lie. Because what I will say is, show me one charter school, just one. I just need one. Show me one that wasn't operating pre-Katrina as a public school, a traditional public school run by the district. Show me one that's breaking all of these academic barriers that y'all keep talking about. Show me one. Because, see, that's what I want to get to the bottom of. I even gave you an out. I gave you a concession. I say, listen, we won't take credit for the school. You don't take credit for the school. Show me where our district was the worst in the nation up against what you've done for 20 years with more money, more resources. Let's not leave that part out. Let's not leave that part out. Because I can show you when people committed malfeasance pre-Katrina, they went to prison. They were held accountable because there was a district in place to make certain that there was some sort of oversight going on, that we didn't have all of this blind autonomy where we could just create data points and nobody's around to vet them. Nobody's around to check them. Autonomy is good if you don't have a problem with transparency. But autonomy is dangerous when you have a problem with checks and balances. That's just my opinion. But I would venture to say if an educational leader is doing what they claim they're doing, they wouldn't be mad if folk came in to look at all of the wonderful things they're doing, to model what they're doing, to shadow them and learn from them. Why you don't want people in there if what you're doing is so great? Shouldn't you want people to see it? I've never seen LeBron James say, I want to go do all of this great basketball, but I don't want nobody in the stands. Don't buy no tickets. You don't need to watch this. Because when you're doing wonderful things, everybody wants somebody to see it. Why y'all don't want nobody to see it? If you're doing so great, why can't anybody access the data, the numbers, so we can understand how we moved or how we grew? And y'all's favorite word, growth. That's all I want to know. So again, just show me one school that was popped up by this charter reform that had no grounding in pre-Katrina New Orleans. Show me one. Because when you look at the list of schools and you look at the top of the list where all that goodness is supposed to be happening at, all of those schools were in operation pre-Katrina. And here's the thing, some of them were doing better than they're doing now. Some of them were blue ribbon schools of excellence. Some of them had White House accommodations. Y'all got to stop playing with us. That's all I'm asking you to tell the truth. And if your truth aligns with best practices for our children, I will fall back. I will give you your kudos. I will give you all of the praise. Right? I will do that. I have no problem doing that. I shout out schools all the time when they're doing great, even ones I've been hypercritical of. Ask Jamar McNeely. I've been hypercritical, but when there are good things going on, I could actually speak to the good things as well. I'm not a monolith. I'm not one-sided, and I do not have any bias. What I do have is a fierce defense of this city and its children, and you're not going to malign us unwarranted or with mistruths and think that I'm going to be quiet about it. And I wish more of us had that sort of energy for this system. But we're going to continue to talk about it on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
We're off to a mostly cloudy start, eventually seeing more sunshine throughout the day, becoming mostly sunny with highs in the upper 60s to low 70s. Clear and cool tonight, lows in the 40s and the 50s. A slightly warmer Tuesday and sunny, highs in the mid-70s, upper 70s, and low 80s by mid to late week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Risha.
Hi, I'm Leo Jackson, host of Sunday Gospel here every Sunday morning, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 12 o'clock till 2 p.m. You don't want to miss this move of God. It happens only on WBOK. You listen to all day long.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, Please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. We'll jump straight to the phone lines. Good morning, Pop Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Wise. You're on fire as usual. Dr. Wise, as long as I've been talking to you, this is something, I guess I had a senior moment, but I think it might have been last year. I went to the school board. They had to meet one of the members of the school board was speaking. You won't believe this. This lady talked the whole time, and you could nobody. I know one lady. She was an educator. She walked out. She was retired, but she walked out the meeting. This lady would not let you get a question in. And I remembered that. I said, man, this. So I hear you talk about, the different things about the school board and members and stuff, but that brought me to my memory. What you think about that, Dr. Wise?
Well, I think people talking is good. I mean, what was the context of what she was talking about? And for educators to walk out, I'm not certain, I wish I was in the room so I could understand what she was talking about. But I think for too long, we've allowed the conversations to be guided, and fed to us. We don't get the privilege of getting the real answers from the folk we elect. I don't like the structure of how meetings are had at the school board because none of the issues are ever addressed. People just get up there and pour their hearts out, and then it's like the decision has already been made and they move on. So I really don't know what she was talking about, but I do know that
she threw us off. I know because me, I'm not an educator, so it got to the point I really didn't know because she didn't allow. I was going there to learn, but she talked. She didn't allow the people that was more involved or more educators to ask her any questions because she talked the whole time.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn something myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had some more context, but I do
Yeah,
know.
I think it was at Alice Hart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the meeting was.
Yeah, I wish I had some more context, but I do know that this is a very pivotal time for our education system, and I think it's very telling that we've allowed certain members of our school board to openly support a certain candidate, and the application process is still ongoing. And so I don't know how much objectivity there's going to be there, or if there's any if there's going to be any equity in the process, because I just hate the word fair, but I don't know how much equity there'll be in the process. But this is the time where parents and community have to speak up for what they want to see for their children in the next school leader. So we'll see.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks so
Dr.
much,
White.
Pop. Appreciate you. Good morning, Ms. Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yes, good morning to you, Dr. White, and to everybody in the audience. They're doing the same thing they did pre-Katrina. People would be at the board meetings, and they would just let them go on next, and no comment, don't want to hear. It's just like next in line. Nothing is done, nothing is said.
Right.
And as far as meetings are concerned, if those walls could talk, if walls could talk, that's why they, do secret things. So the outside wouldn't hear. But if those walls could talk, all their truth would come out.
Yeah.
Shame. All I can say is to people is encourage people to go and vote on the 29th, because that's critical with the juvenile under 17 years old, and I know some heinous crimes are committed, but it's not that many. Crimes are committed, but not that many.
Well, and even if they are committed, there's already crimes on the books that would warrant adult incarceration if committed by a juvenile. So we need to be very clear about what is happening with that change in legislation that they're hoping for.
Exactly. So people, tell somebody, 10 tell 10, go and vote. You prepared for Carnival? Means nothing. What we got to show for it after Carnival? Beads hanging on a tree, and that's it, not even ours. Please. It's very critical because it's nothing nice. I wish I could say more on the air.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All right. I don't know if y'all can see what I see, but somebody done snuck in the studio. What's
Hey,
going
girl,
on?
hey.
Kimber White from the front porch.
Hey, girl. Hey. People
girl.
talking about mess and confusion and stuff.
I don't know.
When it comes to the kids.
Yeah.
Like free T-shirts and the laptop. And, we be, trading our kids for stuff. Because I'm not going to put this all on the people who are doing the deeds without, charging the people who do the stuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, hey, every time there's a campaign to bolster or reconfirm or grow the enrollment at a school and you don't see that as propaganda, hey, you are the dummies. I'm gonna say it just like that. You are the dummies who say, oh yeah, free uniform T-shirt, free laptop, free. There's no free lunch. I think at this point we know that there's books about that, right?
I think too. I think we have to be mindful that they play on the needs oftentimes, right? When you hear free uniform, if you actually need a uniform, then that's going to sound attractive to you. But I don't understand why, if you know that there's a need there so much so that you're trying to entice them to sign up for your school for the free uniform, that should be a part of the coming into a new school year anyway. Why not just give every family one uniform? Because we know in this system, a school could open, a school could close, and the burden of that goes to the parent. You've just bought all these uniforms for this school, and now you're closing mid-year. I got to do all of this again. We're always left holding the bag for this failure. And the sad part about it is the people who call it out are most often the people who are made out to be the problem and not the system.
But I also want to say this, right? Every hooker got a price.
Yeah.
And so...
You calling people hookers?
I am. And that's not the word I want to use. I'm going to say, if you're going to be the hooker, raise your price. Don't let it be the uniform T-shirt. Don't let it be the laptop. Don't let it be things that you can acquire by, because I heard dates cost $40 these days. I don't know. It is what it is. But I really need us to really have a conversation with people who defect, not deflect, defect, pull away from the area or the comfort of the community for things such as a uniform shirt.
Yeah.
And that's the things I need us to really have a conversation, because really the 80%, the 92%, the ones who were the odd of that were we need another stimulus check. We need more things. The eggs is high.
I think my aim is a little bit different, because for me, I have a problem with those of us who are working on behalf of the system to also misinform our parents.
Baby, listen, monster with a fade.
Those are the people I have a problem with.
And stay tuned for the next hour for the next name, because I got another one and we're going to talk about it.
Well, yeah,
not this show, but it's another one who got some issue with the D9, never went to college, and does pretty well for themselves. Ooh, woo! Underneath, on the skin, ruffled my feathers, because if you have not experienced, you cannot speak from. And for people, I will use this as a teacher. Everybody not going to tell the same lie. And with people, the small factions of things, people are pulling away. See these Trump people? They're pulling away because the lie that they can no longer tell is hitting everybody. But with regard to the D9, I'm not protective. What I'm going to say is, if you hurt my kid, you got to go to jail. Period. End of story.
But I'm gonna. You're part of the Divine Nine.
But
correct?
I am proudly 25 years this April 9th. Part of the divine. But when y'all start saying like we are a part, have you ever seen a demonic?
I think that's the conversation. We're going to save it for the front porch.
It's coming.
Before I go, I want to make certain that I say this to you. I told y'all here before, oftentimes they send us for us. And I've watched this happen on a local level. I watched it happen on a state level where people are in positions to make change. I think about Dr. Donaldo Batiste and him being on the school board for that short amount of time. And he was one of the catalysts to push for a direct run school. And what did they do? They went and found somebody that looked like us to unseat him. This is what they do. And so now when we're talking about congressional level, they found somebody that looked just like us to unseat Jasmine Crockett. This is why you have to start paying attention.
In a state like Texas.
In a state like Texas. There's no reason why they're coming for her but for the fact that she's hypocritical of their president. She's hypocritical of this abuse while looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. She's hypocritical of it. And anytime you're hypocritical of a system that's disenfranchised and marginalized communities of people, you become the problem. And now they went and found a black man to say that she's disrespectful of the president and she has no credibility is what he said.
Meanwhile, y'all are bothered by Doechii saying that heterosexual men are a red flag. Well, when you're looking for violence, where you gonna find it? Not just with black men, but let's start with heterosexual men.
Well, y'all gonna stay tuned up next for the front porch with Graylin and Kimba. But I want you to be very clear when I tell you, they always send us for us. You can see it on local levels, you can see it on the state level, and now you're going to see it on a national level. Texas better wake up and protect that seat and have her in it at all costs, because we don't need another compliant Democrat to go along with the fiasco that is Project 2025. We need somebody that's going to fight for the people. Y'all stay tuned. Up next for the front porch. As for the Good Morning Show and Dr. Ashanta White, I'm going to see y'all on the other side. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.